right, so Shelby, this little baby right here, got an injury about 12 days ago and had to have staples put in her belly because she cut herself open pretty bad. So today we're going to show you how to remove staples from a dog. So what I have here is some lidocaine. It's just some numbing cream. So we're going to put that on her and let it sit for a little while. Typically it's good to let it sit for about 20 minutes. If you're able to cover it over with some saran wrap so that the air is not able to get to it and it actually is able to absorb into the skin longer, that's better. That's what we're gonna do, is put this on and let it sit for a while. Once that sits and she's numbed up pretty good so that the staples coming out of her tissues don't frighten her too bad, then we're gonna take and just use this disposable skin staple remover kit. Well, I'll show you here. This is actually a stapler that if you ever had a dog get injured, you could use that to close them up. This is a disposable staple remover. So we'll be opening that up and sanitizing it with some isopropyl alcohol. And everything, once it's all sterile, we'll get to removing the staples. All right, so I want to show you the incision that was made here and the staples that closed it back up. So the wound is looking extremely clean. The tissue has started to come together. And the reason why you want to take staples out in 10 to 12 days is because you don't want the tissue to start growing over in the staples, which makes removal more difficult. But we have good adhering of the tissues together again. So now I've opened up the lidocaine cream and I'm just going to take a little on my finger with some gloves and I'm just going to apply it around the area here and work it in a little bit. And it's okay to get around the perimeter of the wound. Just working that in. I'm not going to use a ton of it because I don't want it to have residual. It's going to be almost impossible to keep her from licking this. We will put a cone back on her just to try and keep her from licking it for a while, but once that's worked in pretty good into the tissues, like I said, you can use some saran wrap and put over it and let it sit. But for her not even flinching from me touching the wound like this, I'm probably not going to worry about that. I'm just going to let it sit for about 15 to 20 minutes. Once it's got that deadening effect going on to the tissue, then I will go ahead and open up the staple remover, get it sterilized with the alcohol, and start the removal. All right, so we've let it sit in. That lidocaine has been sitting for a while, and we're gonna now go ahead and start the removal process. So what I wanna do is open up my disposable staple remover. This is probably gonna be the most difficult portion without an extra set of hands, but Shelby's doing pretty good. So I'm removing the little protective top to it. I'm going to take some isopropyl alcohol, just because in the manufacturing process you want to make sure that any contaminants that got on there are clear. So the staple mover I'm going to now put into the isopropyl alcohol. So get that good and clean. And this isopropyl alcohol is 91%, so it'll kill just about anything that's growing on there. So we're gonna let that go. All right, Chubs, this is the scariest part. So first, what you want to do is, you can see how the staple remover is made. It has that little loop on the bottom. That is what you work underneath the staple, and once you've worked it under, you squeeze and pull up at the same time, and it opens the staple up.
Good girl.
So I got one out there, and I want to try and let the air I'm dropping it in the isopropyl alcohol each time between each staple removal. So I'm letting the air dry it off a little bit, because there still may be a little bit of opening, and that alcohol would sting her even with the lidocaine. So we're on the number 2. There it is. That's number 2 out. There's number 3. And you don't really have to pull up so much. When you squeeze through, it actually pulls the staple out of the tissue. See that? It just pulls it right out. Alright, I'm gonna have to let go of her for a second because I couldn't get that one off. Alright, here we go. I'm just looking at the wound as I take them out, and it's doing really well. You can see where there's still some raw flesh where it hasn't completely closed, which is expected. This is going to be the toughest one. It's close to the other. There we go. Almost done, Shelbs. We're getting close. So, I'm trying to work this under the staple gently. Alright, try it a little bit. It's okay, baby. I know that stings. Probably a little alcohol. Bit. 3 more to go, babe. Oh, it stings a little bit. Alcohol. There we go. And definitely the lidocaine helps. It really does help. We're almost done. Okay, hang on 1 second. That lidocaine definitely helps deaden up the nerve endings in that tissue. Last one. Yeah, I know. It's okay, baby. I know. Shh, shh, shh. Let me get it. Let me get it. I know. It hurts. That's it. That's the last one. Okay, now what I want to do is actually use an alcohol swab just to wipe and clean this area up, get the remaining lidocaine off the surface, because it's going to be very difficult for her not to want to lick it. We probably will put that cone back on though as well. So